What's up, everybody? Hello and welcome to Not Your Average Meta, an MTG Commander channel dedicated to bringing you decks and commanders you wouldn't normally find in your average meta. This week's video is brought to you by our new channel sponsor, International MTG. If you're looking for competitive pricing on your favorite MTG cards, old and new, be sure to check out the International MTG store and TCG Player, link in the description of this video. This week on Not Your Average Meta, we're bringing you another completely unplanned Dominaria Commander clash using the legends from the new Dominaria United set. We would also like to shout out our second full-time channel sponsor for Season 3, The Hobby Horse in Taylorville, Illinois. If you're ever in the central Illinois area, be sure to stop in and check out the store as well as saying hi to Martin. This week's second Dominaria matchup features Ryan returning this week, playing his upgraded 5-color Painbow deck, which is now being led by Jodah the Unifier. Foil making another appearance on the channel, playing the Master of Enchantment, Zur the Schemer. Fog Raw back again, playing his new Mardu Legends Matter deck featuring Shanid, Sleeper, Scourge. Justin playing the Mono Green Lover of Honey Badgers, Greensleeves, Maro-Sorcerer. Now the fighters, let's step into the Thunderdome and see which deck will come out on top. Turn 1, Justin plays a Dryad Arbor. Ryan plays a tapped Jungle Shrine. Foil plays an Island. Fog plays an Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, and passes. Justin draws and plays a basic Forest. Ryan plays a Swamp, then casts a Farseek to go get a Triumph from his library, while Foil casts an Opt to scry 1 and draw a card. Foil plays a Plains for turn, then casts a Favorable Winds. Fog plays a Flagstones for Tarkir before paying 2 for Oswald Fiddlebender. Justin draws and plays a Fabled Passage, cracking it to go get another Forest to put into play tapped. Ryan plays a tapped and Doth a Triumph for turn. Foil plays a Swamp for turn, then taps out to cast his commander, Zur. Fog plays Shizo's Death's Storehouse for turn, then casts the Raven Man. Justin draws and plays another Forest before sending his Beanstalk Giant on an adventure in order to go get another Forest. Ryan plays a Plaza of Heroes for turn, then taps out to cast his commander, Jodah. Foil plays a tapped Contaminated Aquifer for turn to cast Michiko's Reign of Truth. Fog plays a Mountain for turn before tapping out to cast his commander, Shanid. Justin draws for turn, then taps out to cast his commander, Greensleeves. Ryan plays a tapped Frontier Bivouac before casting Minsc and Boo, Timeless Heroes. This then has him legendary cascading into Rograk, Son of Roga. He then goes to combat swinging Jodah Foil for 8 commander damage. Ryan then upticks Minsc, targeting Rograk, giving him 3 +1/+1 counters. On his upkeep, Foil targets Zur again with his Saga trigger, then casts Psychic Battle. Fog plays a Planch for turn to cast Zancha Sleeper Agent, losing a life and drawing a card, before donating Zancha to Foil, passing his turn. Justin draws and plays another Forest, creating a Badger token. He then casts a Topiary Stomper, which has him searching his library for another Forest to put into play tapped, creating another Badger. Ryan then casts an unreadable Elish Norn. This then has him legendary cascading into Lithoform Engine. Elish Norn then resolves, giving all of his opponent's creatures -2/-2, which takes out 2 of Fog's creatures and Justin's Dryad Arbor. Ryan then upticks his Minsc and Boo to put 3 +1/+1 counters on his Boo token. He then goes to combat swinging Boo and Rograk at Fog for 18 damage. On his upkeep, Foil flips his Saga into Portrait of Michiko before drawing. He then plays a Fabled Passage before cracking to go get a Plains from his library. Foil then casts Supreme Verdict. This then wipes the board of all the creatures. Fog draws and taps out to recast his commander a second time. Justin draws and plays another Forest for turn before casting an Avenger's Zendikar, creating himself 7 plant tokens. Ryan plays a tapped Floodplain for turn to cast a questionable Merciless Eviction in order to exile all the creatures, while Foil casts a Consider to look at the top card of his library, putting it in his graveyard before drawing a card. Foil plays a tapped Thriving Heath for turn, choosing blue. He then realizes his enchantment should actually still be in play before recasting his commander. Fog plays another Swamp for turn before casting Yoshimaru Ever Faithful. He then casts Rogue's Knot, Heir of Rogath, putting a +1/+1 counter on Yoshimaru. He also casts Camber the Plunderer, which adds another counter to Yoshimaru. Justin draws and casts Yavimaya Elder, along with the Nature's Lore, going to get another Force from his library to put into play. Ryan plays a Cascading Cataract for turn before paying to recast his commander a second time, and then upticks Minsc and Boo. Foil plays a Ruined Halo for turn, naming Jodah as it enters play. He then activates Zur's ability, targeting a Psychic Battle. This then triggers the Psychic Battle, which has each player revealing the top card of their library, which doesn't change the target. He then goes to combat swinging his enchantment Justin, who blocks with his Elder. Foil then gains 5 life, while Justin goes to get 2 Forests to put into his hand. Fog plays Moria Urborg Haunt, putting another counter on Yoshimaru. He then casts Odric Blood Curse, which puts another counter on Yoshimaru and creates 2 blood tokens. Fog then goes to combat between Cambered Foil, who chump blocks with Zur, but still has Fog gaining 3 life. Justin draws before recasting Greensleeves a second time. He then plays a Forest for turn, creating a Badger token. Ryan casts a Sultai Charm, activating his Lithoform engine in order to copy the spell. He then draws 2 cards and discards a card, before drawing 2 more cards and discarding another card. He then casts Selvala Explorer Return, which has him Legendary Cascading through half of his library, before he ultimately hits a Kamal's Druidic Vow, which he chooses not to cast. He then upticks Minsc and Boo and passes. Foil plays a tapped Thriving Moor, choosing blue yet again. He then swings his enchantment at Minsc and Boo, which has Ryan blocking with Selvala. Foil then gains 5 more life, while Fog gains 2 life and creates 2 blood tokens. He then casts Journey to Nowhere, targeting Greensleeves, and Justin responds by giving her Hexproof. Fog pays to use one of his blood tokens to discard a card and draw a card, before paying to use another blood token to discard a card and draw another card. He then plays a Plains return before casting Hedagetsu, Devouring Chaos, which puts another counter to Yoshimaru. He then goes to combat swinging Camber at Foil and Rosnak at Justin in order to pump up Camber. Foil then chump blocks again and Fog gains 4 life. Justin draws for turn before playing another forest, which creates another Badger. He then casts Thunderfoot Baloth and goes to combat, swinging Greensleeves at Ryan, who ends up just taking the 13 commander damage. Ryan plays a Terramorphing Expanse for turn, then casts Rian, Angel of Rebirth. He then uses his Lithoform engine to copy Jodah's triggered ability, which has him Legendary Cascading into Atla Palani Nestender, as well as Minsc, Beloved Ranger. He then downticks Minsc and Boo to toss his Boo token to Yoshimaru. This then sends Yoshimaru to the graveyard while Ryan draws 6 cards. He then goes to combat swinging Jodah Justin, who blocks with a Badger. This then has Fog gaining 1 life and creating a blood token. Foil just plays an island and passes. Fog pays a sack of blood token in order to discard a card and draw a card. He then plays a mountain for turn before casting Tabarex, Hope's Demise. Ryan then sacks his Terramorphic Expanse to go find a land from his library, while Fog sacks Eldrick to scry 2, leaving both of them on top of his library. He then puts a +1/+1 counter on Tabarex before sacking a blood token in order to discard a card and draw a card. He then casts Ellis Elcor, Sadistic Pilgrim, before swinging Camber at Foil and Moira at Justin. Foil chump blocks and Justin takes his damage. Fog then gains 3 more life and returns Eldrick back to play thanks to Moira dealing damage. Each of his opponents then lose a life while he creates 4 more blood tokens. Justin draws and plays another forest, creating another Badger token. He then casts a Stratus Scythe, exiling a forest from his library. Justin then equips his Scythe to his commander before going to combat, swinging her at Ryan. Ryan then blocks with 3 of his multicolored creatures, returning 2 of them to his hand thanks to Rian. Fog then gains 4 life and creates 4 more blood tokens. Greensleeves then goes back to the command zone and Justin ends his turn, equipping the Scythe to his Baloth. Ryan casts Kodama the East Tree, which has him Legendary Cascading into the Mimeoplasm. He then has the Mimeoplasm enter the play as a copy of Elesh Norn with 5 +1/+1 counters. The sin is Fog draining each of his opponents for 3 life, with 3 of his creatures dying, while he adds 3 more counters to Tabarex. Ryan then casts Joria Weatherlight Captain, which has him Legendary Cascading and Kamal's Druidic Vow once again. He then decides to cast it this time in order to draw off Joria. He then puts to play Oko Thief of Crowns and upticks it to turn Justin's Scythe into a 3/3 Elk. Ryan then upticks Minsc and Boo before swinging Jodah Justin, who blocks with a Badger. The Sin gains Fog of Life and creates another blood token. Foil then casts Path to Exile in order to exile Ryan's Mimeoplasm on his end step, before he decides to pay enough mana to turn his Journey to Nowhere and Favorable Winds both into creatures. Foil draws and goes to combat, swinging both his enchantments at Oko for 4 damage. Ryan then puts Oko at 1 loyalty while Foil gains 4 life. On his end step, Fog sacks another blood token, discarding a card and drawing a card. Fog pays to sack Eldrick again in order to add a counter to Tabarex and scry 2 more cards. He then sacks another blood token to discard and draw a card before tapping out to cast Primeval's Glorious Rebirth. The Sin returns all his legendary permanents back to play from his graveyard. He then puts Zancha into play back under Foil's control while he adds 9 +1/+1 counters to Yoshimaru. He then returns Odric back to play, which creates him 6 more blood tokens. Fog then swings Tabrax at Ryan, who blocks, but still has Fog gaining 7 life, while each of his opponents get drained for 1 life. He then ends his turn using Peregrine Dynamo to copy his Mahadi trigger, creating him 2 treasure tokens. Justin draws before recasting his commander a 3rd time. He then plays a Force for turn, creating a Badger token. Ryan casts Luna, Apex of Wishes, which has him Legendary Cascading into a Nyx Lotus. He then puts to play Marchesa the Dark Rose before recasting Ala Palani, which has him Legendary Cascading through his entire library before he hits Sisay Weatherlight Captain. He then puts to play Minsk Beloved Hero before casting Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. He then draws a card and gains 3 life. Ryan then uses Oko to turn Foil's Halo into an Elk, and Foil responds by turning him into a hexproof creature. He then casts Growth Spiral to draw a card and play an extra land, before casting a Felwar Stone. Ryan then swings Joyra at Foil, who doesn't block. On his end step, Foil activates Zancha to draw a card and lose 2 life. Foil then activates her a 2nd time before drawing for turn. Foil casts a Night Howler, enchanting Zancha in order to make her even more deadly. He then goes to combat and swings her at Ryan, who blocks with a Luna, and in response, Foil casts Cast Out to exile Jodah. Luna then dies, gaining Fog a life and creating him a blood token. Fog recasts his commander a 3rd time, draining his opponents for life and putting a counter on Yoshimaru. He then uses Oswald to sack his Dynamo to go find a Thran Temporal Gateway to put into play. He then pays to sack one of his kobolds in order to scry 2, keeping them on top, draining the table for 1 life. He then pays to sack another one of his kobolds in order to scry 2 again, draining the table for another life. He then sacks a blood token in order to discard and draw a card. He then goes to combat once again, swinging Camber at Foil, gaining 3 life. Justin draws and plays another Force, which creates another Badger token, while Fog remembers to create his treasure tokens. He then casts Beast Within to destroy Kadama, giving Ryan a 3/3 Beast token. He then swings his commander at Ryan, who blocks with 3 of his creatures, which gains Fog 3 life and creates 3 blood tokens. Ryan then takes 2 damage. Justin then casts his Giant from his adventure while Foil turns his Cast Out into a creature. Ryan draws to cast Urza's Ruinous Blast to exile all the non-legendary permanents that are in play, which then returns Jodah back under his control. He then casts Linvala's Shield of Seagate before uptaking Oko, copying the ability with his Lithoform engine, turning both Foil and Fog's commanders into 3/3 Elks. Foil casts a Thorough Investigation before going to combat, swinging his Elk and Zancha at Oko. Ryan then creates an egg with Ala Palani, which he uses to block Zancha while he lets Oko take 3 damage. He then reveals a Faber or Eldar off the egg trigger. Foil then pays his Zancha himself in order to draw a card, and then does it one more time before casting a tapped Marble Diamond. Fog uses Oswald to sacrifice his Gateway in order to go get a Hero's Podium from his library to put into play. This then puts a counter on Yoshimaru. He then casts Jadar, putting another counter on Yoshimaru, which has Justin responding by casting Sheltering Word, target his commander in order to gain 13 life. Fog then goes to combat, which has him dividing up his legendary creature army into 2 separate groups, swinging one pile at Ryan while he swings the other pile at Justin. Justin takes his damage, going to 5 life, while Ryan declares blocks before sacking Linvala to give his creatures indestructible, but still takes 14 damage. Fog then gains 13 life before sacking a creature, draining the table for another life while he scries 2. He then casts Orcus, Prince of Undeath, where X is equal to 3, which has him returning both Ragrak back to play, putting a counter on Yoshimaru, as well as returning Thalia back to play from his graveyard, adding another counter to Yoshimaru. He then goes to his end step, creating a Decayed Zombie token as well as a treasure token. Justin draws and plays a forest, creating a Badger token. He then casts Sky Shroud Claim, creating 2 more Badger tokens when he puts another 2 forests into play. Ryan plays a tapped World Tree for turn before tapping out to activate Mint's, copying the ability with the Lithiform engine. This then turns Jodah into a 52/52 creature before it swings him at Fog. Fog then blocks, and at the end of combat, Ryan downticks Minsk and Boo to throw Jodah at Fog for 52 damage. Second main, Ryan gets called into work and concedes the game before packing his stuff up and leaving. Foil draws and casts an Omen of the Sea to scry 2 cards, keeping both on top before drawing a card. He then Zanchas himself in order to draw another card. Foil then casts Swiftfoot Boots and equips him to his Elk before going to combat, swinging Zancha at Justin and the Elk at Fog. Justin then blocks with a Badger token while Fog blocks with his own Elk. Foil then plays a Dimir Aqueduct for turn, bouncing land back to his hand. Fog draws for turn, then taps out in order to cast the Meathook Massacre, putting more than enough into the X to wipe his board, which then will drain the table for enough life in order for him to win the game. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can see more games and decks you wouldn't normally see in your average meta.